So, welcome to this episode of Menopause Conversations. I'm delighted to have my next guest with me, the wonderful, the powerhouse that is Lavina Mehta. Hello, Lavina, how are you?
Oh, you're so sweet. I'm very good. So excited to speak to you.
Yes, it's been a long time coming because we met
Yeah.
ages and ages ago, but because Lavina is so busy, as you'll guess in a minute when I give her her introduction, it's taken this long to get her in the room. But let me tell you a bit about Lavina. Lavina Mehta, MBE. She's actually a very well-known wellness coach, award-winning personal trainer, and author of this beautiful book. The Feel Good Fix, boosting energy, improving sleep, and moving through menopause and beyond. And it's actually a bestseller already, but it's designed to promote simple, sustainable ways for women to improve their health through perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. And I'm particularly interested in this, Lavina, because I've moved into that postmenopause age. But I think the thing that I is synonymous with you is actually exercise snacks. And I absolutely love that because I hear you say about it all the time. But I want to just lean into something in Lavina's book, actually, about the 11 minutes to change your life. So, Lavina, welcome. Tell us about 11 minutes to change your life. What's that all about? Because I think that's fundamental to your book.
100%. Actually, you know what? 11 minutes is on my mind because I don't know if you've just seen that the King himself, King Charles, does an 11-minute workout and it's just come out in mainstream media. So I'm going to be doing a lot more on my socials about this because the 11 minutes came about because obviously exercise snacking shows, if people don't know, it's the short bite-sized amounts of movement that can be as short as a minute. There's everything's backed by science in my book, but even as short as 4 seconds, Amantha. And I think when we first met, you saw me snacking on this beautiful stairs in the Royal College of Obs and Gynae
Yeah,
at
yeah.
doing my little snacks, and you must have thought, who is this woman? But you know, I'm trying to normalize it because I think it's a game changer in our busy lifestyles, just to know that every little minute counts. And when I was researching the book and I wanted to get my book out as quick as possible with Penguin, the day I was entering their offices when we were about to do our kickoff meeting, I found a beautiful study because I was thinking, what target can I give people that is achievable? The government guidelines are there for a really good reason, but it's very hard to hit them. And we know that from statistics. So 11 minutes came up as a new paper where it shows that just 11 minutes every day can reduce your risks of 1 in 2 premature deaths, 1 in 10 cases of cardiovascular disease, and 1 in 20 cases of some cancers. So I looked at that and I just thought, I love science. I need evidence-based stuff. I thought, wow, that is just incredible. And it just backs up. It gives people a little target. Obviously, you could just do a minute and you know that counts. 11 minutes a day is great. And then you can build up from there. And it's really flexible. I want it to be accessible, as you know,
Mm.
based on, your mood, your energy levels, how you've slept, and how much time you've got, and how you can fit these little snacks into existing habits, right?
Yes, I love that. I love that. And it's so true. And that's the thing that really got to me, actually. It's not like, trying to carve out 30 minutes, which is probably what we've been spoon-fed over the course of our lifetime, is that it's actually quite difficult, to carve out 30 solid minutes. But actually, these little snacks, little snacks, little snacks bring those pockets of energy into your life. Break of state from work, thinking you're
100%.
doing something else. These are all such feel good sort of neurotransmitters. It's so doable. So I'm going to dive in and out of your book if that's
Yeah,
okay. But
great.
whilst I do and get ready to ask you about the next thing, tell us a little bit about you, Lavina, because what I'm very aware of is people like yourself, like myself. I think it's very easy to forget the story that put us in this place, in this moment in time. And if it's okay to ask you, would you mind just sharing some of your experience of menopause, women's health, and actually how it is you've arrived in this space doing what you're doing right now?
Oh, thank you for asking because I always like to point out I'm 46. I'm a mum to three amazing boys. I had a global project manager role in the corporate world in my 20s, which I absolutely loved. And after my third son, although I tried to go for a flexible working and a job share, which was very unheard of 20 something years ago, even at a company like BP where I was, I did give up my corporate job and I did become mum. I was in a very blessed position that my husband was like, just focus on the kids, enjoy it. But I literally fell in love with exercise at quite a late point in my life. So being South Asian, especially, it wasn't something that I grew up, knowing about the power of exercise and lifestyle changes to our long-term health. And I've actually just joined a gym after my kids were all, the youngest was in kindergarten, the boys, the older two were settled. And I was double my size, Amantha. Although I don't, talk about the sort of how we look, I want to reframe the whole way we look at, especially things like movement and exercise, to how it makes us feel and all the other incredible health benefits that we can't see that are going on in our body. But I was double my size. I'm at risk of having things like type 2 diabetes, especially being South Asian again. And health was a little bit of a concern, just seeing people around me go through, lots of health issues in my own family. So that was in my 30s, and I had never lifted weights, but I got a hardcore personal trainer who was ex-military, who introduced me to the world of strength training. And that was when things really started to change, not just physically, because yes, I obviously got into a really healthier weight, which is important for disease risk reduction. But what it did up here mentally was like the game changer. And I say my slogan is to exercise for sanity, not vanity. It came from those times. And I sat the exams to become a fitness instructor and then a personal trainer, literally to learn about the incredible science behind exercise. I was fascinated just for my own knowledge, not even to become a personal trainer, let alone to be on public facing, on social media, and obviously doing the incredible opportunities that I get now. But I think it's when I really started going live in the pandemic, and I'd been so Sky News actually discovered exercise snacking in December 2019, so just before the pandemic. And I'd done this crazy little advent calendar. I'd just opened up my Instagram. It was Feel Good with Lavina because my mum did the science of food, and her last book we self-published while I was, heavily pregnant with my youngest son. It's called Feel Good with Food. So again, mum was my inspiration on the nutrition side. I learned a lot when I was self-publishing her book with her and writing it all up and thinking, gosh, food can do so much for our health. But Sky News found exercise snacking, my very embarrassing advent calendar, and the likes of supermarkets, the parks. I was just doing little minutes every day. And I discovered the science that it's as effective, if not more effective, than the longer workout that you were talking about. And then I just started just going live in the pandemic very early before a lot of fitness trainers got onto, online training because I was really worried about people's mental health and isolation, loneliness, and I knew exercise could boost immunity. So I grabbed my husband and youngest son. We did exercise snacks at lunchtime in the garden, and the response was insane to evening workouts that were very structured, covering not just strength training, but I've got a holistic approach to fitness. So mobility, stretching, cardio, strength, like the full work. So people were doing things at their own levels, very accessible using tin cans and plastic weights, that I still do with my mother-in-law every week. And yeah, it just rippled. Like I just the amount of people that joined us to then, it's still surreal when you say MBE because that was a very surreal moment when I got awarded it just in October 2020. So it was just a few months in. I found out in July in the pandemic that the Queen had, the late Queen had heard about my workouts. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to use this now to do my mission, which really is to help as many people feel good as possible. And I want to just kind of break down the big barriers of time, cost, motivation. So a little bit about me. It's a very unplanned journey. As you've met me, I'm very passionate about spreading this awareness because it is those free tools that are backed by science that I think can do so much for any stage of life. I want those that aren't in menopause, even young girls, to know that from the age of 30, we start losing our bone density and muscle mass. So it's really key that if we can start getting our younger generations, I was in my mid 30s, but it's never too late to start also for the older generation that I see join my lives every week. I do them on YouTube. We have 70, 80, we've had up to 100, age 100 join us, me and my mother-in-law, who's my brilliant fitness buddy, but she does, demonstrates the exercises so it breaks down those barriers. But menopause for me, you were asking, I realize now that I did start my perimenopause around the age of 39 or 40, which is very in line with being South Asian. And I always point out, as you know, that there are lots of differences in ethnicities. So being a South Asian woman, we're more likely to go through the menopause 5 or 6 years earlier than the average white female. So I'm 46 and I'm about to hit menopause, that point in time, where I won't have had my periods for 12 months. And the penny only dropped a few years ago when mainstream media started talking about it. Can you believe it? All the symptoms that I had when I qualified as a PT at the age of 40, I was kicking off this whole new career, very unplanned, but I had lots of different symptoms from the typical, affecting my sleep, the insomnia, which I just put down to being a busy mum of three. I thought once we're mums, we're never going to sleep. But it did get to those points where you're just awake at night and you just can't fall asleep. And then it builds, right? The anxiety, which I had never experienced. And again, I used to be quite open. You see, I'm very real on social media and there's no filters. I just kind of say it how it is because I want it to be relatable. I don't know about you, but I started experiencing anxiety, and it was pretty scary at times. Exercise, what has been my tool, like everything, that I write about, I share on social media, are things that I live and breathe, and they have helped me thrive. So it's very positive. I want a positive spin on menopause. There was brain fog, which really worried me because my grandmother had Alzheimer's, again, a big taboo subject in my South Asian
Mm.
community. And the forgetting things drove not just me, but also my family nuts. And, it's quite worrying when you think you're doing something new and your brain has to be your superpower. If you're public facing on TV, radio, on, social media, I was like, why is my brain letting me down? And it was only when I saw the Channel 4 documentary where it shows the changes in
Mm.
your brain as estrogen declines. And the penny drop that it's a lot of women I meet say they were worried about early onset Alzheimer's and dementia. So I raise a lot of awareness about the importance of exercise to keep our brains fit because the changes in your brain do start in your 30s and 40s. It's not an old age disease. There's so much we can do to reduce our risks the earlier that we start and the more we incorporate lifestyle changes. And yeah, obviously erratic periods were just awful because I qualified as a PT,
Mm.
unplanned. I was, wearing lycra, my periods were all over the place. So a lot was going on. What I can say is that it's great that we have this awareness. And for me, whether women are on HRT or not, I want exercise, the lifestyle changes. It's not just exercise snacks, but little tools that we can use to battle some of these common symptoms and help us navigate this menopause and thrive. That needs to be the foundation, right? That needs to be for me at any age. I just want people to know that there's so much we can do. So yeah.
Amazing. And I'm smiling because, I mean, we could just, well, we are sisters from different misters, but, mine is very similar to yours, Lavina. I was at 36, 2 years after my daughter was born, and that's when I had my first sort of eight symptoms and had no idea because it just wouldn't have occurred to me. So I think it's so important that you are raising that narrative around ethnicity too, because it is important. And I think it's also very, very easy to look at people in the public domain, and you're very much in the public domain, and to forget that actually where have people come from? You've navigated your own pockets of pain. But you've done it with
Yeah.
purpose and you've done it with passion, and you're sort of rolling that legacy forward. So let's get into the book, shall we? Because I picked a couple of things to
Yay.
demonstrate myself, just to sort of demonstrate how easy it was. And I thought, okay, what could I pick? So what I want the viewers to understand is just how different this book is, because it's so much more than just a book. So, for example, on page 143, we've looked at gentle seated hormone snacking, because you've mentioned periods. You've
Yeah.
mentioned, they just show up when they probably aren't most welcome. And you've given some advice. What I want to show people is that actually what Lavina has done is she's written the narrative around how you do certain exercises. But what's brilliant, and I've actually done it myself, is there's an amazing QR code here. So for example, if you're reading it and maybe you're having a brain fog moment, you go, okay, I understand that that's what I meant to do. Lavina has put a brilliant YouTube video which shows Lavina doing the moves. And as you can see, she's such a patient person. She's got such a lovely voice that you can listen to, and it's really watchable. So you could watch Lavina if you're that sort of person who likes to watch one, do one, teach one. That is absolutely fantastic. So tell us about how you came up with the idea to make it less conventional as a book.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Amantha. So there's so much in there. Well, the snacks, like with the pun intended, I wanted to get each snack out, laid out like a little recipe. So it's really easy to follow. I always kind of talk about the benefits, the science of it. So it's back, there's like 40 pages of studies that I researched in the 5 months I had to write the book. The recipe is like very easy. There's a method, and then the benefits. There's also things that you can piggyback onto. So if you start
Yeah.
with even like a 1 minute, we have everything from 1, 3, 5, and 10 minute snacks. And the QR code was pure genius from my amazing husband Menol, who, when I was talking to the publishers, I actually had quite a lot of offers, which is very my severe imposter syndrome when I decided to write a book was just one of those goals when I thought, oh God, I've got an MBE now. I might as well just write a goal list of like anything and just try and manifest them. Like I might as well just go for it and see what happens. And there were lots of different publishers in the bid for the book, and they all had different takes on like, do we do diagrams? Do we do photos? Because I wanted it to be easy to follow. And for me, as a personal trainer with that hat on, I definitely don't want people to get injured, and I want correct form and technique. And it's very hard sometimes. I do it with all my YouTube workouts. You'll see I'm constantly talking, I'm constantly giving them teaching points to make sure that everyone remembers everything from straight back, core tight, squeezing the muscles, like really giving them guidance. And then Menel actually said, sometimes illustrations and pictures can look dated. So how about QR codes? And I was actually part of the YouTube health creators, which I am still part of at the time. And I went back to Penguin and I said, what about we do something totally different? And I thought, oh, they're going to laugh at me. And they absolutely loved it. So I connected Penguin
Brilliant.
with YouTube, and I've even done a talk at Google about how we can also change this, in the face with publishing. They were very excited because it then, like you said, is hopefully like a little me by your side.
Mm.
And I filmed those videos in like 2 days. I think they've never filmed so many clips in one go, but I really hope they help. Just knowing that you can follow along with me, right?
Oh my gosh, they so do help. And I'm a very visual person. For me, I don't often have the concentration span to read for long periods of time, but watching, I've got a great capacity to watch. So,
Yeah.
so I think the two go hand in hand together because then you create good form, and if you practice it regularly, it's absolutely brilliant. And I agree with you. And what I think, because you only just mentioned it, at the back. So, for example, let's say today it's a Monday, but maybe you've arrived at your Monday with low energy, Lavina. So on
Yeah.
page 367, what's brilliant, Lavina has actually put a whole
Mood
list of
menu.
recipes for you. So
Yeah,
let's say, you've literally only got, 1 minute, or, you've got 5 minutes. You can choose what
that's
works for you.
yeah, I wanted it to be, it's very much pick and mix, again, with the snacking puns intended, but it's not like your typical book. The first thing my mum said as an author was like, I want big font. And I was like, Mum, I will tell the publishers, but publishing world has changed so much, but they have properly delivered. I don't know about you, but sometimes
Yeah.
with perimenopause eyesight, so many women go through changes
Yes.
in menopause. And I want it just to be like easy to read, really big bold font. So it's a bespoke design. And then the mood menu was just a way so that, like you said, if you just want to go with something like when you're feeling anxious, sitting too long, it just gives you a whole list of not just exercise, I should point out,
That's-
lifestyle snacks.
Yes.
Mine, mental health is a huge bit for me, and there's so much around the power of nature, gratitude, journaling, self-care, just being kind to ourselves through this phase of life that every woman's going to have to go through to all the other little cool little, hacks that I've tried and tested.
Yes.
Like cold water showers. I did one before this podcast, and I used to be the coldest person on this planet with Raynaud's. So
Yes.
for my husband to now, hear me say that, and I wanted it to be accessible. Although I love a cold plunge or a cold water swim, we don't always have access to that. So
No.
I researched about the science, and I just thought actually we can just do, build up if you're feeling brave, but just 10 seconds at the end of your shower building up to 30 seconds, it does work.
Oh,
And it's
yes.
really helped, banish brain fog, lift my mood, boost productivity. It's actually really helped with my Raynaud's as well.
Oh,
And yeah,
interesting.
and even I feel, like temperature regulation, so things like the hot flushes that we can go through. So yeah, there's a lot in there that I just hope you can just feel like you can just dip and dive in based on your mood, based on how you're feeling. So you'll see they also have like a little icon. Did you see like
Yes, yes.
the type of snack and then the so even things like stretches when you're not feeling like you can do something, like a typical workout. It's about giving women the option to actually, okay, let me tune into myself, let me lower my cortisol just by
Yes.
doing some stretching. I've got like the gentle hormone snack actually I did with my mom on my holiday just 2 weeks ago on my YouTube channel, because I wanted again to have something for beyond menopause. It's never
Yeah.
too late. Like for people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that may just think, oh God, there's so much in mainstream media, and it's so unfair that I had to go through it all without, the help and the awareness that we're all generating at the moment. There are things that you can still do. And at the end of the day, we are sitting too long, right? So the average
Definitely.
is like 10 hours. When you and I both do a lot in the workplace, and I love going back into corporates and small businesses as well, but with a different hat on, with the hat on of like, how can I reduce the amount of time that we're spending sitting? Because there's a whole section on sitting as the new smoking, but also what I found out with the latest research around if you could just move every 30 minutes for around 3 minutes, and that could be in the comfort of your home. But as we know with hybrid working, when people are working from home, people can sit for up to 10 hours a day, right? You're kind of like,
Mm,
it's hard to have those barriers. You're either at your desk on virtual meetings, and then you're maybe not having those, even the walk outdoors that is so good
yes.
for your brain, your energy, your mood, everything, that you then just end up slumping on the sofa, like you're just kind of in that sitting position all day. So for things like blood sugar levels and for weight management, because obviously I hear from, 70% of women are going to put on some weight during this transition. And I
Mm,
don't know if you've seen my latest reels where I'm trying to explain the science behind it and how incredible our bodies are in actually trying to hold on to the little amount of estrogen as it starts declining. And unfortunately, it does start collecting in that adipose tissue around your belly area generally. There is an acceptance factor there once you understand the science of it. But there's obviously things like the power of strength training when your muscle mass starts to increase and it starts to really drop, right? It's very hard to
mm,
build muscle, which is why I really want men and women, but especially women going through perimenopause and menopause to make sure they are doing strength training as part of their holistic, feel good fitness prescription, as I call it, because we become insulin resistant. And even, when our blood sugars, my blood sugars used to be all over the place, that would affect my mood, my productivity, my ability to concentrate. I'd want to like grab sugar, right, and binge out. Like it affects so much. But once you start being able to find these tools, this toolkit to do amazing things like lower your cortisol, to balance your blood sugars, to look after your brain health as well as your like bones, muscles, heart. There's so many things that the power of exercise and these lifestyle changes that I just hope, thank you for sharing the book because it is my kind of baby. It's everything that I really believe in.
mm.
That's for free. Over 80 tools in there that I hope.
Yeah, and they are amazing, and I do think particularly like I mean, we talk often in our sessions about, if you can do one thing, it's about getting a handle on your stress.
Yeah.
Because cortisol is that thing that just makes our adipose tissue
Mhm.
react more reactive to, storage and stuff like this. So you're absolutely right. So things that I've really liked reading about, like heat source. So, having saunas regularly are known to purge the body of its cortisol and to get rid of it, doing mindful breath work, and I did see you with your mum on holiday. That's so funny you mentioned it because I did see that reel today on your YouTube. I actually saw it on your YouTube channel, and you're just sat there, and your mum's on the chair, and then you're talking through. But you did some breath work before you really got going.
Every single workout on YouTube, and there are hundreds now. I reckon there's 400 or 500. And although I started them, with my mother-in-law and my mum for the elderly and the less vulnerable in the pandemic, I now get people that are feeling perimenopausal, menopausal, hormonal. I get people working from home. I say everyone can do seated exercises if you're not required when you're working on camera. I'm encouraging workplaces to adopt these techniques because you're going to have happier, healthier employees and you're going to reduce those stress levels. And breath work for me has been just personally one of the biggest tools that I use before everything big, even the podcast like this. Anytime I'm public facing, I will just go and I know I've got these like 5 or 6 that are in the book, backed by science, so easy to follow. And all it takes, Samantha, is 1 minute to reset your nervous system. So every workout on YouTube, we start off with a breath snack, partly because I do everything myself and the tech can be a nightmare sometimes just to get there, right? And
Yes.
it's amazing, like just simple techniques like breathing in for 4 and exhaling for 6. Anyone listening or watching this, try that basic one out. The science is all in the book and why that's so effective. Just do 4 or 5 rounds. You could do it in the toilet at work. You could do it. I do them
Yes.
on the train. I do them before talks. I will literally just be wherever I am and I will do that. And it just calms, kicks in that parasympathetic nervous system. It's so powerful that breath snacks, as I call them, are like a really important tool, I feel, and especially for the menopause when we know that
Definitely.
the mental health changes affects so many women, anxiety, stress. And yeah, it's like I'm glad you love those.
Oh, I really do. I'm a massive fan. I mean, the thing is, when we get to meet in person, we don't have that much time to talk. But I know there's lots of shared interests, and the whole breathwork thing is very, very powerful because one thing that we do know through the emerging research about perimenopause is there's a massive dysregulation of our nervous systems. So we do become more vulnerable. The protection of those hormones, sort of, it's like the veil opens and or the curtains parting on a stage, and then we're left as our raw selves, largely unprotected because our hormones have declined. So these things are so, so powerful. So let's just talk a little bit more then about you as a person, because you're the person, the face of all of this, and the things that you're doing are immense. And you're raising a family, you have your own career, and you're also giving every ounce of spare energy to many, many health charities, including the Wellbeing of Women. You're doing stuff with Menopause Mandate as well. I mean, tell us why that is such an important part of your life, Lavina. Why are you getting involved in even more things? Because this would be enough, right?
Well, I'm very passionate, like I said, about spreading this awareness. And it's great, that I'm now, talking from my own experience. So I touched on diabetes, and we know that type 2 specifically can be reversed and prevented through exercise and lifestyle changes. Even if you just focus on the exercise, it can do so much. And it's rife in my own family. So after I received the MBE, and I just thought, let me just reach out to groups where I think I can really help, but also I really relate with my own personal health risks and my own family. So Diabetes UK is one of the charities that I work with. I touched on Alzheimer's and how important that was. It was devastating to see my nanny, my grandmother, go through it for a decade of her life and not really understand and be able to talk about it because of the taboo in the South Asian community at the time. And then researching again the power of exercise and lifestyle changes in reducing our risks. And we know that all of the things I'm talking about, unfortunately, during midlife and menopause, we are more susceptible of getting these chronic illnesses. So I have sections about diabetes, Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, like all the different common like chronic illnesses that we see. So I also am, yes, like you said, patron of Menopause Mandate, and it's really important, I guess, also for me as a South Asian woman who qualified in this field, never imagined I'd be in it in my 40s. But to have women like me out there and to represent, and I'm very open. It's amazing now, when I go to, even this weekend, I went to an event and it really touched me. It made me realize that, okay, me just being open and talking about everything and breaking those taboos is hopefully for me, just it's not about the numbers, it's not about followers, it's about if I can help one person a day. That's what I, said in my on my mission. But having that representation out there is super important. Sharing my own experiences, I think, is, quite valuable, just so that women understand. And I am juggling, like social media always, I've written a whole section on social. I don't know if you've read it,
Yes,
about
yes.
how, gosh, like everyone obviously sees the highlights and portray, you just see the best parts of people's lives, but everyone has stuff going on behind closed doors, even me. And yes, I hold it together, but this whole I don't really call it work. Everything I've been doing over the last, 6 years to me is like a gift. It's where I found my real passion and purpose. And although it looks like I'm doing loads, I absolutely love it. And I'm kind of enjoying the journey, very grateful for all these incredible opportunities. And yeah, even Wellbeing of Women, I feel is such an important charity because it covers the whole life cycle from menstruation, menopause, and beyond. And again, it's another amazing charity that's giving me that platform to maybe help just a few more people. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that is, and it is so true. I mean, I put a reel up this weekend, sort of saying about, we don't need to subscribe to other people's opinions of what we're doing because actually, it's such a big space now, isn't it? Menopause, it's $1 billion industry. It's actually called an industry, which worries me
Yeah,
greatly.
scary.
But the reality is there are so many people who they haven't got the volume up on this conversation yet, so I think, sometimes you and myself and various other people can sort of convince that, well, surely most people have heard about this by now, and the reality is they absolutely haven't. So I mean, I'm so grateful that the more voices there are in this space saying credible things, it's brilliant. How do you answer the critics, Lavina, that sort of say, well, we don't need celebrities talking about menopause, or we don't, we just need the experts talking about it. How do you answer that? Because social media is so, so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, Menopause Mandate, I'm blessed to be surrounded by some very well-known celebrities who I am blessed now to be able to call friends, and I don't even see them that way, because we've been on this journey for 2 years, and I don't see myself, I hate being, termed an influencer or a celebrity. For me, I'm Lavina. I'm just very raw and open and honest, and I will do anything that I can to try and raise this awareness. So it's been wonderful. There's obviously going to be good and bad things said about everyone, but I think what's really powerful when I see the women, menopause mandate is that we are all there for a shared cause, and that is purely to help women through this. And everyone is coming. You see the likes of Penny Lancaster, Lisa Snowdon, they have all been on their own journeys. Mariella, like we've all bonded because of our own personal experiences. Things haven't been hunky-dory all the way through. They've gone through the ups and downs, but they are living testament of women that have actually are now shining, right? So we hopefully
Yes.
give some hope that you can get through this. You can definitely find your way through it. What was really alarming to me was when I first publicly went on Instagram, when I declared that I was in perimenopause. I don't know if you saw the reel where I was in tears. And I actually went live with Michelle, who's a good friend of ours, who's also,
Yes.
part of Menopause Mandate, because I was broken. I was just like, the penny had dropped for me. But when I decided to share it as a South Asian woman, and I said I would think I was 42 at the time, and I'm in perimenopause, a word I'd never heard of. I've never heard about my mums or my aunts talk about their menopause. The influx of personal messages that I got of women that were suffering in silence and at rock bottom. And I've talked about the alarming rates of, not just women going through divorce to leaving their jobs, which, is really big passion of both of ours, is how we can retain women in their work, in the
Mm,
workplace, and make sure
mm,
that talent is retained, to then women that were thinking about taking their own life. And when I had a few of those messages, Samantha, and I obviously sent them to, signposted them to the right channels of people that can help them, that fueled my mission even more. I don't want women suffering in silence. And I still to this day get DMs, right? This message has not gone out there. So, yes, we are mainstream, but we've got to continue the conversation. It's when I go into places like temples, that have never
mm.
talked about women's health, from period, sex, mental health to now the menopause. And that is their safe space. That is where I've had 1,000 women, at the Eastern Temple. And I'm Jade. So these are communities that are welcoming me in, and I'll go to any community. It doesn't have to be a Jane community. You see, I did lives on all the different South Asian
Mm,
communities because
mm.
for me, we are just women and we've got to help each other. But when you have that type of audience where I saw grandmothers with their granddaughters, and they will pick up, they may not be on social media, may not be reading, the mainstream press that we're reading, but they find that is their safe space. That is the community side of this whole thing, is where we really need to filter down into this community level still. There's so much work to be done.
Oh, and I love that. And I had another one of your girlfriends on recently. So Aziza, Nigat.
Oh,
I'm
yeah, my
collecting
girls, my
your girl
girls.
crew. And you're all saying the same thing. And lovely Michelle. Michelle used to live near me,
I
ridiculously,
know,
literally ridiculously.
love her.
It's so great that, genuinely I asked that question about celebrity because I hear it and I answer it in
Of
exactly the
course.
same way you answered it. We need every voice here around the table, and if it helps to amplify, I don't have a problem with that. Let's do that even more. And I think you're right, and I love the way that you just brought that full circle, which is to maybe the person who doesn't work for a global organization or a small business, but she has one shift in a shop somewhere,
Yeah,
and is juggling many priorities. It's that one person that if we get to them, then we really have and are doing right by everybody, because we don't want to leave anybody behind.
yeah,
And the danger is we will if we start, sort of squabbling about who's got the lion's share of the voice and all of that. I'm not here for that conversation.
no,
I'm here for the person who probably like ourselves has no idea what's coming, and the best we
exactly.
can hope for is to prepare them, by getting good quality information. So I'm here for all of that too. And and
Okay.
and yeah, lovely. There's so many lovely people in this space, and like you, I don't call it work because it just feels so nice to be in people's company.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about then, in terms of women who don't want to exercise, Lavina. And I don't mind saying to you, I loved it when you were
I
on
know.
an Instagram live with Lavina and Davina.
I
I mean,
know, right?
it doesn't get any more sort of manifested than that, I don't think. But let's talk to a lot of people I speak to in the workplace. They'll come up and maybe in hushed tones, they'll go, really get the whole exercise thing that you've just talked
Yeah,
about there, Amantha, but
good.
I've not got the bandwidth for it.
Yeah,
There is nothing extra coming. I never liked exercise, and I just can't see myself doing it. Doesn't matter
yeah,
how much you tell me it's good for my brain, my heart, my bones.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lavina, how do we get started? Because you've been that person. How do we
Oh,
even get
totally.
started?
The funniest thing, my Instagram story before this podcast, is when you don't feel like working out, when you haven't slept well, when you're just feeling like you just want to sit and chill, when you're tired, when you've got a list and you're feeling so overwhelmed because there's so much to do. And then I've literally put, well, that was me this morning. And I still feel it. But I know that through this whole, roller coaster of hormones that I've been going through in my perimenopause, that every time I do a little bit of movement, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Yeah, that is where this exercise snacking is so powerful. What it does for me, like I said, in terms of my mood, my productivity, just the fact that these endorphins scientifically are being released, they're called feel good endorphins, and they're hormones just waiting there to be released when we activate them. To things like, I've talked about BDNF, to myokines,
Mm,
like all this science terminology, things that actually get released in the body. There is science to show, and I say bottle up that feeling after you've maybe sometimes, so start off small, find something you enjoy is key. So that's where I hope that, through the whole variety, the big
mm.
menu of delicious snacks like in the book and on my YouTube and Instagram, wherever you can find it. It's about trying out different things that work for you. And, for me, like just balance is a huge part of the feel good fitness prescription. Brushing my teeth in the morning, on a typical day, I know that while I brush my teeth, I'm balancing on one leg, and that's going to reduce my risk of falls. I then tie on my little pelvic floor snacks, and I'm driving my son to school and I have a very long car commute on the school runs. I will often do my breath snack during that when I'm stuck in traffic and I'm thinking I've got a 9 o'clock I've got to get back to then picking up the day, like I'm saying, with like little snacks. So the power of walking, I mean, the book has hit, I think is still in the top like 20 books or whatever at the moment in on Amazon, as a bestseller in walking. And I thought I would love nature so much, but I've done a whole section on the power of nature. So where I'm suggesting we can't always fit in the 30 minutes, that we'd love to go out for a walk, but even 5 minutes, if you can get out in your garden, if you've got some trees, even better, in a green space, if you can walk around your block, if you can just go to your park, 5 minutes, it's going to help if you do it before midday to help with your sleep, your circadian rhythm. If you can just sprinkle things in, stair stacking is one of the snacks in my book. That's great for our blood sugar levels. If you do it after your meals, you could do that in the comfort of your home, 3 flights of stairs, 3 times a day. It's all described in my book, of course. I'm giving you little examples of things that you could do, even at our desk. Like we've been sitting now, right? I always have some dumbbells or some tin cans on my desk or a resistance band. And I will, because of our, rounding of our backs, that technique, so many people that are stuck at their door, just sitting on their phones or on the sofa at night,
Mm.
suffer from the 1 minute desk reset snack to just doing some weights, some sit and stand, some squats when the kettle's boiling. I'm trying to give you ideas of how you can tie it into your existing habits. And there's moments in the kitchen, when the things are in the oven or the vegetables are cooking, and I'll just throw in some quick star jumps or just some press ups again. I want them to be normalized at the coffee machine. It's about fitting it into your lifestyle. And I know it's hard and I'm there, I feel it. But when you do something, just try and capture that, bottle up that little bit of positive energy that will be released through some sort of movement that you enjoy. And hopefully, journal that. I always talk about journaling, but remember that and then try and just stack things on, right? So just experiment. I would say with the book would be great. But yeah, I hope that gives a little bit of personal experience as well as little ideas of where people can start.
I love that. And I think, we're about to, this is going out in the month of December. People will be turning their
Yes,
thoughts to,
busy time.
yeah, busy time, overeating. For many people, lots of sitting, lots of driving between families, lots of social events,
Yeah,
lots of
yeah,
alcohol, probably. I mean, I love what I
right.
heard in
Yeah,
my own mind, what you were reframing there is, it leans into the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is, you can stack things
Yeah.
on top. So
Yeah.
for me,
Right.
I always still call it my PE kit,
Uh-huh.
but I always put my PE kit by the bathroom so that when I have to go there in the morning, I'm more likely to, if
Exactly.
it's in the furthest part of your house, you're less likely to do it. So
Totally.
I think it's great. And
Yeah.
what I hear
Yeah.
is that you're sort of rebranding exercise to snacking, which means that actually we can put it higher up on our own agendas. And actually, for me, I think the turning point,
Hmm.
Lavina, was actually caring enough about myself to make it a priority. I think
Yeah.
sometimes in
Yeah.
midlife we can, we talked before coming online about our children going through exams. My daughter's just gone to university. It's very, very easy to go because something else is happening, because
Mhm.
something else is happening. So I think those are all great,
Always
really
giving,
fantastic
yeah,
ideas.
looking out for others.
Yeah. And I think they're great ideas that you've given. So
It's
as we draw it to a close, which is such a shame because I could talk to you for absolutely
midlife
ages.
health. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
No, I was
exactly.
just going to say, midlife health is the biggest predictor of our long-term health. So
Yes.
how we want to age, I've done that as a huge quote in the book on big letters because even if you just start looking after yourself, we're always givers, especially as women, we always think about other people, but it's about how we can look after ourselves so that we can give to everyone around ourselves, but also future-proofing our bodies so that we can maintain independence and have that health span versus lifespan, right? There's a section on that if you don't know what I'm talking
Yes.
about, but it is being kind to yourselves and investing in your health. I just all I really want women to start prioritizing. And it's not selfish, it's self-care.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup. And one thing I would say from my own personal experience, I'm a bit older than you, Lavina, so I turned 53 this year. And what I've realized, and I'd like to share with everyone, is it takes longer to build back what you've lost. So do you know what?
Oh
If you can
God.
protect it before you're
Yeah.
losing it, honestly,
Yeah.
I would say that to my younger self. If I could turn back the clock and say back to my younger
Always.
self, what I would be
Yeah.
doing, it would be doing more weights every week, three
I
times a week, get
yeah.
going,
Yeah.
start with something, meet yourself where you're at, whatever day that is. And as we've demonstrated in Lavina's book, you can find yourself wherever you find yourself in those menus and just be kind to yourself. Do something. Something's better than nothing, right?
100% to that. Strength training, especially even for our bones, as I'm doing a lot of, posts at the moment about raising awareness of bone health. But for both, if you don't use it, you will lose it. Same with our brains. And, strength training is the key. There are 5 minutes. There's even like, 1 and 3 minute snacks in there that you can just start off and it's about making it simple and building up from there. But it gets harder as we get through menopause this time. It's just never too late to start. So please, anyone listening, just make that start.
Oh no, definitely. So how can people get more of you, Lavina? Because why wouldn't they? Your gorgeous ray of red sunshine. How can people know more about you? Where can they consume your content on a more regular basis?
Thank you so much. So I'm on social media on all channels, obviously predominantly on Instagram. You'll see what I'm up to every single day on all of them at Feel Good with Lavina. I do have a website. I'm also on LinkedIn. So for any sort of talks, workplace events, that kind of thing, I'm obviously very passionate about. And the book is The Feel Good Fix is obviously available on all retail outlets and bookshops. And it's often on offer on Amazon. I always throw that out because, I just think if it's what you invest, the retail price is 18.99, but what we can spend 18.99 so easily on, if you can, try and invest it into your health, I think it will help you and everyone around you to thrive through menopause and beyond. So, but
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm thrilled. And yes, I mean, for all of those organisations that are looking to have a different conversation around movement, around exercise, I would thoroughly recommend getting Lavina in. And so what we'll do, Lavina, is we'll put your book in the show notes, we'll put your socials in the show notes, and we'd ask people to be directly in touch with Lavina, because why wouldn't you? So for now, Lavina, Mehta, thank you so much for your time. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a massive difference to women
Thank
across
you.
the globe. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you to you. Women supporting women is exactly what you're doing. And yeah, I really love all the stuff you're doing with this podcast. So it's been an honor to be on. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.